distinct, and they all look really cool and really fun. Like there's the Hulk and there's Iron Man and yeah, it's cool. And you want that. You want to look at the Terrans and go, look, there's the Marine and the Thor and the Siege Tank, and they all feel really unique and really special. At the same time, it all wants to work for esports. So it's a combination of what looks really fun and what plays really well that hopefully is where the magic comes together. But so it depends on where we're coming from. We're motivated by different things on different days.
Will we get access to some of those scrapped units that you were just talking about in the map editor at any point in time?
I think we had a couple of those. I think we included a couple of things. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, we did.
I think we had a couple things that were just in the editor that we shipped.
We did end up actually shipping a lot of units that didn't go into solo play.
The Lurker was in it. There was a Wraith and a Scourge. But
yeah.
I mean, like the Soul Hunter, I think, was one of the scrapped ones from a while ago, or any of the stuff like that.
Yeah, well, what happens with the ones that are scrapped that are really scrapped a long time ago, often the art tools change enough and our technology changes enough, and he looks awful, right? Like, he looked awful then, but he would look even more awful. He may not even work now without a bunch of work, and so we don't usually end up recycling the ones that are very old. I don't think we're doing that many changes to the tech on Heart of the Swarm, so it's possible anything that gets half-baked and gets scrapped would be more plausible to bring forward for you guys in the map tool.
Speaking of technology changes, have you had any shifts since Wings of Liberty that have allowed more and different gameplay sort of devices and things like that?
Well, it's not a gameplay device. We definitely have done several things on the graphics side. And like as one example that you don't even see here, we completely switched out our wow, why can't I think of the name of our engine? The physics engine, thank you. That's completely switched out at this point. We're adding some things like ragdoll to units when they die, not to impact gameplay, in fact, just to
We're looking for ways to do it so it doesn't happen right in the middle of a fight and everybody's flying around and you can't see what's going on, but ways that you could do it, that would be more subtle or more correct. Or maybe the last Marine in a stack, right, does something cool. And so it's a moment where you can enjoy it, right?
So, and graphics effects like that across the board, weather effects on missions that could affect gameplay.
Creep effects, right, which are obviously something we really are important to us for this game. But our overall goal for the graphics is to ultimately not increase the minimum spec as little as possible or at all. Like we really want to make sure that everybody who was able to play Wings is able to play Heart of the Swarm.
Something that I've seen asked a lot in the mapping community, and I don't really think can be added to the Galaxy editor without you guys doing it in the actual game itself, is like a water mechanic. Is that anything you're looking to do? Because I mean, you can't really have water units without some hack and trickery.
We've talked about it. So far, it has not worked its way into Heart of the Swarm, but we've talked about it. It's one of those things that's been out there. So I'd love to give you a more concrete answer on that, but it's not currently spec for Heart of the Swarm, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Would it be, this is a complete side question, would it be possible to have different types of creep out there in the map editor? Because that would be kind of entertaining.
Another thing we've talked about as well. A lot, actually. It's very complex. It starts making creep extremely expensive because now we need to track it, and we don't. It's one large tracked thing at this point. So if we have to sort of track that creep belongs to you, and this creep belongs to me.
Well, this creep is orange, and that creep is purple.
And then he's got to start putting team color on creep, and then it starts getting real ugly, and they're like, what is this? What are we making? A colored checkered board or something. So, but we've definitely talked about it. Right now, there's no intention for it.
Okay. With coming back to esports, I know it's a little off direct topic, but have there ever any thoughts of making a spectator perhaps camera zoom out or full rotation or more like live cinematic camera type stuff?
We've
heard lots of, this is one of those backlog things, we get requests a lot.
Some of it's engine stuff too though, you can't scroll out too much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you played Nexus Wars, you know that already, right? It doesn't always work that well to be able to move the camera out that much to make that really functional. But it would definitely be, there could be ways we could do it, potentially, but it would definitely be in sort of our backlog category of, it's not killing us right now. I know it's the most important thing for the community today, and we're just trying to get this stuff out as fast as
There's
we
lots
can.
of ways. I mean, we're on the esport front in general. It has been fantastic. We are seeing, I think, the best surge in esport that we've seen in a very long time. U.S. is, as far as U.S. Europe getting really involved and paying close attention, and at Korea, they got to be careful because the crown's going to get stolen here. I fear pretty soon by somebody if they don't. Keep their chops up. But anyway, we're loving it on our team and continuing to look at features like that. I mean, we had an entire patch that basically updated things like the leaderboard and making it better. So we're looking for those opportunities all the time, and we'll probably incrementally add zoom cameras and all that. Those are things that we've heard before, and then we've even, as recent as today at lunch, talked about additional things that we could do.
I think we actually have something in a database somewhere about that, a
Oh
suggestion.
in Inspector somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So collector's edition Thor with Wings of Liberty, collector's edition Ultralisk.
Collector's edition Protoss unit. I'm
Oh,
thinking,
wow.
heard of this one?
I thought collector's editions are.
Are we even doing the collector's edition? That was a tricky way of asking
Yeah,
that.
I
I
don't-
didn't
we don't-
confirm that for
We
anybody.
don't even know what the
See what
status
you're
of
trying
it is.
to
We
do
usually
there.
make those kinds of decisions really at the last possible moment. So, I mean, Thor was really the last minute when that went in.
We will, I'm sure, have something cool in store.
As going with the back to the lore a little bit, the Zerg backstory I said in the past, you really wanted to explore what it means to be Zerg
Sure.
in Heart of Storm. Can you guys expand on that any more now?
Well, I mean, the whole challenge of it is to make them. I mean, there's sort of two ways we could go, right? And there's the lame way and hopefully the cool way. One way we could go is to make them just sort of monstrous and don't tell you too much, right? Just have them growl at you a lot and make them seem kind of scary and weird. And this is how a lot of science fictions will work with a lot of their monsters. They keep them unknown so that you don't really your imagination is doing most of the work. Our hope is that we can really work out all the details and describe to you, what it's like to be feared, hated, and hunted by every sentient creature in the galaxy. To believe that conquest and survival are one and the same. That if you don't eat, you die. Right? To give you that sense of what these creatures are going through and why they feel like they have to continue to evolve or they're going to be destroyed. And to hopefully, if at least not making you sympathetic with them, at least make you understand them, right? And that's the goal. I don't know if we can accomplish that. I don't know, have a lot of examples out there of other forms of media that have actually successfully tackled. I'm sure there's some novels that have done it, right? But it's definitely be a challenge for us. We've looked at things like the example I always like to give is District 9, right? Where you really don't think much of those aliens, and you eventually really start to fall in love with them over the course of the film. Of course, they cheat. One of the aliens is a toddler, and there's a daddy, and they make them very human, right? Like, oh, save the baby, right? And so that's a little bit of cheating because it's not making them really monsters anymore. It humanizes them fundamentally, and then I really start to feel for them. And so the question is, can we still keep them monstrous, and yet at the same time you're like, oh, I kind of get where these guys are coming from, right? And make you feel that, and that's gonna be the challenge for us. We certainly haven't done that in this demo, right? This demo are still, temporary voices, still very human sounding characters in many ways, or even just human speaking. Never mind how the actual audio plays, right? They speak in ways that don't seem that weird or that unusual yet. And so that's something we're definitely going to be pounding on. And whether we succeed or fail is definitely an open question, right? It's something we're definitely be working very hard on. I don't have any guarantees at this point.
The advisor that we saw, I think her name was Isha or
Uh-huh.
something along those lines. Is she an actual character, or because as I understood it, it's Kerrigan's memory of being the Queen of Blades. So is she an actual character, or is she kind of just like a figment of Kerrigan's?
No, she's the actual character.
She's really
I think that line is quite well written. No, but she's an actual character.
Can she leave the Leviathan? It kind of looks like she's attached.
She's pretty attached.
Okay.
I don't know. She might have a way out, but she's more or less attached.
So
Yeah.
she can't join you in a mission and like fight alongside. you?
Unlikely. I guess we haven't figured that out yet. I guess she might have some sort of battle form, but she's definitely part of the Leviathan, or connected at least in some disgusting way with that too.
And will we see any of the other characters? Like I know like the major characters, Minx and Raynor will probably come back in, but I really want to see Stetman taking a look at the evolution. Like
Donnie.
those two guys just talking it out.
Don't-
Like,
don't-
even though that's Zerg.
We had a lot of that discussion on the team. So, continue to ask your
Yeah.
question.
So like have anything along those lines, or is it
I
just
don't
gonna be-
expect she'll have a lot of contact with a lot of the humans,
Okay.
right? But we may have some of these characters certainly return. But I wouldn't expect like a sudden influx of, the Raiders are all hanging out on the Leviathan for a couple missions. It seems unlikely.
Hansen?
Yeah, maybe her. Maybe that one version of Dr. Hansen. But other than that, I don't think you'd. Yeah, right. I don't think you'd see a lot of those
Canon
characters.
says.
That's right. There's a big cat fight.
Right. So in Brood War, we saw Kerrigan, eliminate the Cerebrits because she didn't want anything else sentient controlling the swarm. And now there's Brood Mothers, which
Mhm.
appear to be intelligent and
Yep.
sentient without her.
Yep.
Was that because there's nothing that was Zerg that could
She
talk
has
to her?
she has a different vision, I think, for the swarm than she did during Brood War, and she has a vision for the swarm that has specific specifically nothing to do with Overmind. And she felt that I think Cerebrits were a little tainted by the Overmind, and that they were of that, and that the Cerebrits would soon create a new Overmind as fast as they could if they were allowed to continue. And she's looking to create new creatures that she feels are fundamentally more independent than the Cerebrits ever were in the form of the Broodmothers, creating creatures that are stronger, more evolved, more independent thinkers that can ultimately make the Swarm strong. I mean, there's always been this weakness to the Swarm. Whoever can control or kill the top creature can disrupt the entire Swarm. It happens at the end of Wings, right? Her plan didn't quite happen fast enough, right? Whatever she was trying to do in Wings did not execute before Jim and the artifact showed up. So she's definitely going a different direction, and you'll learn a lot more about that over the course of the game.
Woo!
Like
Every question has
every
an
question answered.
I think we got a lot of multiplayer questions, but we don't know how many they can be
Yeah,
answered.
no, you're gonna get the same.
You're gonna get the
sort
same.
of-
We
There's
still know
stuff
we're-
gonna happen, and we're not gonna talk about it.
We still know, like every idea we've done has been pretty awful, and there's been a few that are okay, but we never know. Like they come and go so fast, right? Literally, we're gonna run a play test tomorrow. I don't know what's gonna happen, right? I could come out of that, trying to yank out my beard, or I could, go and say, dude, we got it, we nailed it. These things are awesome, and then next week it's terrible again, right? So, it's so important to us to try to hit a good quality as we can. We're very critical of our own work, and anything we do,
I think the other
we want to
thing-
get right.
Yeah, and the other thing is just thinking back to StarCraft and Brood War. Warcraft 3 didn't have the same intensity around it, but StarCraft and Brood War was a game that came out. We put out Brood War after it, and eSport did not exist in any real level, even at the launch of Brood War. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. And now we've got a very good balance on our hands, and it's scary. It's like people are still figuring it out, and it's you already said this,
and we
but
know
I'm
what
just
it is too. Like
reiterating.
you're
It's
totally right. The esports absolutely straight up, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many of the units in Brood War were actually useful? A lot of them. Dark Archons use those an awful lot. Maybe. Valkyries saw more use later on, but not always in the metagame. You know what I mean? Like Lurkers were awesome, medics were amazing, right? So there was a couple really great units, and then there was some other units that, sometimes. We don't want that, right? We want to come out and say, we did the best we could, and it's really great, and every one of these units has legitimately a reason to exist in this race as best we can, and that's challenging.
But even that's not only a challenge. It's just really realizing the how much the landscape has changed, because it wasn't a thought. It's like Brood War, put more units in, no problem, just go do it. We're just putting out an expansion pack to a game. Now it's like it's in the hands of the players, and it's way scarier. And there's more. I don't even know how long we should wait. It's like, if you really think about it, even in another 6-8 months from now, would that just completely screw everything up if we
Change our
just throw it in
perceptions,
there?
yeah.
Or, will it work out more to be the right time? When is the right time? I mean, the questions are just much more difficult to answer, I think, now. Besides just getting the unit right in esport, it's even just everybody's really gelling on and jamming on this right now, and it's going really well.
Hey,
Oh,
we
here we
changed
go!
everything.
Boom! Totally changed the landscape.
That could be a problem,
Shit,
right?
yeah,
And we just
so-
don't know, what's going to happen with that, or when is an appropriate time to suddenly ask all the pro players to relearn all of their strats, right? I don't know. Probably never. I don't know. You know what I mean? But we got to do stuff, right? So it's definitely, yeah.
So is there a particular reason why you really feel like you want to add new units, just to
Well,
fill?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that maybe not everything in Wings of Liberty was perfect.
I disagree.
I'm gonna stick to my guns on this one. That maybe not everything was perfect, right? And we can definitely do better. Like Overseer would be a great example. Like he's got two abilities, one of which was kind of cute and is now well known enough by the community that even at Platinum and Diamond, be like, you just need to change it, right? And the corruption ability is kind of funny, but you can't buff that unit fundamentally because it's got food attached to it, right? Like you can't put Psystorm or whatever on the Overseer because doesn't cost food. He gives you food, right? You could have 1 million of them, right? And there'd be no way to control it. So I would argue that he's a little bit fundamentally flawed. And I think as you go through, you could make the case about a number of other units in the game, right? So I think we can do better, but it's going to be challenging.
So in Wings of Liberty, the mothership is like the only unit that is so expensive and important and takes so long and damage tree. Could you maybe talk a bit about how you guys came up with that unit, but only for one race. It's kind of this like super unit that only until just recently we've seen.
But that's what we're going for.
Yeah, that
Right? I
kind
don't want to have a super unit on all three
Yeah.
races. If we're going to do one, it should be on one.
Exactly.
Right? We shouldn't have, a cloaked Banshee, but there's also a Zerg one. Right? Like they should try to be as different as they possibly. So I think that's our core value. The way the unit came up was, I don't even know this was before I even got here. I think there had been an idea. It would be cool if we had that huge ship at the beginning of the StarCraft one.
Explained it.
Like wouldn't that be cool? And the laser beam and those poor salvage miners get destroyed. Like woo, let's do that, right? And so there's this idea that it'd be something cool in the game. And so we worked for a lot of years trying to make that work, and finally said, we'll make this really cool, ridiculously over the top unit, but at the same time we'll kind of kit it for more casual players, right? Like we're not gonna kit that for the pros nearly as much. And we did the best we could with it. Like we tried to make Vortex kind of fun in the sense that maybe it's kind of like stasis, but there's a counter. Right, like I can stasis you, but you could also all in your army into the vortex and go, all right, you can't pick off my guys piecemeal, but you can do whatever you want until I come out. I don't know if that was good or not, but that was sort of the thought on it. And we've definitely sort of moved it towards. I'm always shocked when I see it in a. I don't know if it's ever even won anybody anything. I think I've seen a couple
like
of games where
2
it's
days
won.
ago.
Oh, so did it happen again? All right.
2 base
Okay.
mothership rush and just stomped the Zerg handily.
Bizarre. Those are the surprises that make this game so fun to work on, right? Because the community keeps forever surprising us with this
There
kind of
goes
stuff.
that one back off the chapter.
Yeah, I gotta keep the mothership now. But yeah, so it was just